Well, welcome to Alverstoke Evangelical Church, our antiviral midweek thought and this week interview for your enlightenment and also as a ammunition or, if you like, information to pray. Now, I was particularly interested in this interview. You'll see what it is very shortly. That the importance of literacy and the spread of the gospel are highlighted. So it's worth watching out for that. And that struck me because in this country, with the coming of the New Testament in English, it stirred up a passionate desire for greater literacy, both by individuals and by larger groups, so that people could actually discover who Jesus is and what he has done for us and know God through the scriptures. So I hope you enjoy the interview, and you'll notice in the picture I've just brought up to the side that this week's newsletter, the topics now change from every edition to the next one, looks at what it means to be people of the book, and there's a quotation there from a well-known British leader. So if you can work out who that is, let me know. Perhaps I'll put a link on Facebook and you can all give your guess. And there's also a little excerpt on that about Paul's desire to read even at the end of his life and seeking to draw a few lessons from that. As usual, I borrow a lot of information from things I've read and from articles on the internet. So most of what you'll read has been gleaned from elsewhere, but I hope you'll find it useful, and we'll go into the interview now. Thank you. And then we'll start. Right, good morning everyone. It's really good to be with you here this morning, and this morning we're talking to Kate Hammond, who is 6 hours ahead of us in time, and I don't know how many thousands of miles away out. Well, let Kate tell us where she is. Where are you, Kate?
Okay, so at the minute I'm in Indonesia, and I actually don't know in miles, but it's 11,000 kilometers away from you. Yeah, I'm sorry, don't know miles. Yeah, a long way.
Yeah, now most people, most reason that we'll know about Indonesia is probably because of the aeroplane that disappeared off the coast some years ago. Would you like to tell us a little bit about Indonesia, just for the people who are listening?
Yeah, so don't be at all embarrassed if you don't know where it is, because before I moved here, I didn't know where it was. So what you need to think is of a world map, picture where Australia is, and then just go north. And before you hit China, you will have crossed over Indonesia. So it's a big archipelago, which is a set of islands. There are 17,000 islands in Indonesia, and they're just like a big smile. So they're that kind of shape. Are very, very wide. So about the length from the east to the west is about the size of Europe. So it's actually a very big place. We have 3 time zones here and a huge number of cultures and a huge number of languages spoken in Indonesia.
So is there any language that the people would tend to use to communicate across that broad width of size?
Yeah. So everybody uses Indonesian, which is their trade language. And basically it's everybody's second language. So it's my second language, but it's pretty much everybody's second language. So the language you would use at home would be your tribal language, which is very much according to which island you're on, or even which bit of which island you're on. But if you want to communicate across the archipelago, Bahasa Indonesia, Indonesian is the one you need.
Right, yeah. Right, that's helpful. We'll put a map up for people to see, so that'll give a little bit of an idea. Now you have a position of head of education, I hear.
That sounds so formal. It's nowhere near as formal as that sounds.
Yeah, well, we have to have labels in the West and maybe out there as well. But you're not funded by anybody in Indonesia directly. You're funded. How are you funded? You mentioned that before you went there, you didn't know where you were going, which reminded me of what I listened to yesterday for church about Abraham, who went off to a place and he didn't know where he was going. How did you come to go to Indonesia, not having a wage, depending on the Lord? How has that worked out for you, and how did you?
Yeah. Okay. So coming to Indonesia was a really odd route. In a very short nutshell, in the UK, I was a history teacher, and I did that for 17 years in the UK. And in my summer holidays, I would take the opportunity to work my way around the world. So each summer holiday, I would find a different country, a different Christian organisation doing something, and I would whipple out there and have a go at something, and loved it. Absolutely great fun, but very much enjoyed being a history teacher, so never felt that I would stop doing that. And then in 2014, my short-term trip took me to Indonesia. And while I was there, I just had a very significant conversation in an airport where somebody was just talking to me about the absolute need Indonesia had for teacher educators. That there was a huge desire for good quality education in Indonesia, but they really didn't have trainers, people that were able to come and help teachers get better. And that was pretty much what I was doing in the UK. As well as being a classroom teacher, I was always also training teachers. So it just seemed like a pretty good fit. And it's cut a very long story short. That's why I ended up going. I got invited to come and help on the Transform Nation program, which is called TFN, Transform Nation. And it is an organization which trains young people, 18, 19 years old, to become teachers. So when I'm saying I'm head of education, what it means is that I am the kind of person organizing the curriculum to teach these young people how to become classroom teachers. So I work with them for 4 years, and then we send them off to be teachers. So that's it.
So what year did you actually start out there?
I came out here in 2015.
2015. So you've seen some of your teachers or students from beginning to end, and then into placement.
Yeah. So that's it. So the very first year, so we label our classes very simply A, B, C, D, etc. So the class A students, when I turned up, they were in their third year of training here in my city, and they've now been working out in the field for 3 years now. So so we've seen those. But like the students that are currently graduating this year, I've trained them the whole way through. So they're particularly my favorite little group, because it's like, because by the time they started here, my Indonesian was good enough to teach them. So I'm like, yay, they actually got me the whole way through. The other years above them only got me a little bit, because my Indonesian wasn't yet good enough to teach. So
So they're like little replicas of Kate now, are they?
I really hope not. That would be so disastrous. But they've got this really, really odd education where they've got actually a lot of fairly up to speed Western ideas about like all kind of learning theory, but it's kind of on top of they're working in places where they've only got chalk and a blackboard if they're lucky, and lots of stones and leaves to teach with. So it's this odd kind of mix of really good theory, but you're gonna have to make that work in what you've got.
Yeah, well, that probably opens up their creativity as well.
For sure.
COVID-19 is a big thing in this part of the world. How has that affected you over there? Has that curtailed what you're trying to do, or made it harder, or what effect has that had upon you?
Yeah, so it certainly affected what we're doing. Indonesia's response to COVID is different to the UK. So we've not had lockdown. Lockdown would be just impossible. It would be absolutely impossible here, because people live outside a lot more. So many people, their houses are tiny, and therefore the idea of staying inside would just be absolutely worse than hell. It would be awful. So people live out on the street a lot. So the idea of staying in your house and behaving yourself is never going to go down. So Indonesia's response has very much been along the lines of put your mask on. Try and do social distancing when you're out and about, but again, for a country that is so highly populated, that's pretty difficult. And then wash your hands a lot. So hand sanitizer can be found pretty much anywhere now. Just walk into some random place and someone's got hand sanitizer for you. So that's pretty much as far as they've gone. But they did shut things down. So they did very quickly shut schools down, which meant that our training program was obviously affected in that we couldn't meet in the school anymore. So we had to go to online learning, same as the UK. Has COVID hit Indonesia badly? Honestly, we will never know, because their ability to track and trace and to count who's got it and who's dying from it is very limited. So only if you're in a major city will you have access to a hospital, and only in a hospital will they actually test you to know if you've got it. So if you look at the kind of official statistics for Indonesia, it all looks great. You know, we've got, I think, 2,000 deaths, which, like, wow, that's really good compared to the UK, for example. But honestly, we have no idea. It could be that God in his mercy has actually really limited the number of people in Indonesia who've got sick, or it could be that masses and masses and masses of people are sick and dying, but just nobody knows about it because they're so remote and they're not counted. So it's a kind of odd situation here at the minute. So it feels very much like there's no problem and it is normal, other than everyone's got a mask on, which is slightly odd. But on the other hand, things like schools particularly all being shut, that is tricky for us.
Right. Okay. But has it helped you? I know you've been working, because you've mentioned it in your newsletters, on this series of Bible studies through Genesis. Has this lockdown given you more time to do that, and how has that progressed?
Yeah, totally. It has given me more time. And it's a really interesting thing for me to reflect on, because my original plan was to come home to the UK in the end of March, beginning of April, which is exactly when Indonesia went into total, okay, everything's stopping and no flights were leaving, so I couldn't come home. And it's really interesting to reflect, if I had come to the UK, would the Genesis book have got written? Because in amidst all the things that I'd had to do, travelling around to visit supporters and churches and doing this and doing that, possibly I wouldn't have had so much time to actually just sit and physically write the Genesis book. So what happens when we're saying writing a book, it sounds terribly fancy, and it really isn't. Every Saturday we do a Bible study with the trainees, and that came from a real desire in my heart and Juliana's heart to help them understand the Bible better. It became really clear to us that they had patchy knowledge. They knew a little bit of this, and they got some vague ideas of some of the parables, and they knew a little bit about that, but they really didn't have any kind of coherent idea that this is one book about Jesus Christ, and it is actually very, very clearly got big themes in it. And they just didn't have any of that. So we were like, right, what we want to try and do is just regular Bible study where they're working systematically through a book, so they can see that it's not just a book you pick up and pick a verse and randomly read it and try and make meaning from that verse. Read the book systematically and it will actually make a lot more sense to you. So we started off the Bible study by just doing Colossians, but then very quickly, having done Colossians, became aware that they didn't know who Jesus was properly. They just didn't know so much stuff about him. So we ended up writing this little book. So this was Bible studies that we did, 36 studies about the life of Jesus. It's mainly based on Matthew's gospel, but actually has bits of John in it when occasionally we wanted to jump there. The Bible studies are done every Saturday, and then all I did after having done those is just wrote up all my notes. So you have, like, in the beginning section of it, you've just got questions. It's in all in Indonesia, so that won't make any sense to you. And then in the back section of it, you have the same sections. Let me just get one, there you go. But you might be able to see there's some blue text there now. And the blue text is just the answers. So the students use the front and they try and answer the questions on their own. But if they're not actually sure what the answer should be, they can just whip to the back and go, oh, right. So we don't want to dictate to them exactly what the Bible means, because I can't do that. You know, I do not have authority. The Holy Spirit has authority there. But at the same time, we didn't want to just give them the questions and then leave them stumbling in the dark and possibly getting the right answer or not. The idea of the book is that they can obviously do it on their own if they want to, or they can actually use it to lead a group of fellow teachers, probably not students. It would be a little bit, or school students, be a little bit too hard for them. But the idea is that there it is. There's the model. So that's the one we've already done. So this year we've been studying Genesis, and we're doing exactly the same thing. So I'm currently typing out the book. So this is my official Bible study book. So I tend to write all the Bible studies on the back of envelopes, really. I get my ideas together, I study the passage, and I whip down all my ideas in English on a piece of scrap paper. And then this book there's my handwritten notes. These are Indonesian again. So this is what I use on a Saturday with all my ideas. It's not the best Indonesian you've ever seen, and it's got lots of kind of like shortened versions of things. Like, for example, I've got here the word yang, but I've written YG. So I know that means yang, but I mean, you couldn't just photocopy that and give it to people. They wouldn't understand my sort of shorthand. So once it's all been done and I've done the Bible studies, I then come and type it all up and make it into a book that will eventually look a bit like that one. So that's what I've been doing in these last 3 months, sitting down and writing the Genesis one, a labour of love, because it has got 47 studies, which takes you from Genesis 1 through to Genesis 50. So it has taken a very long time. But yeah, such a great book. Oh my word, I have fallen in love with Genesis through doing this, just to see how it all fits together, to see what God is doing, to see how clearly the gospel is in Genesis. I don't think I ever realized that till I really started studying it with the trainees and going, wow, this book is incredible. So yeah, that's that. So I'm now just checking that. It's been written, but I'm just checking it. Then Juliana will fix all my Indonesian, my bad Indonesian. And then when it's ready, we will then get it printed so it looks like that one.
Brilliant. That sounds exciting. Yeah.
Good, yeah.
Did you intend to do 47 studies before you started?
No. So what happened is that my sending church in Cambridge had done a series on Genesis. And I can't remember why we decided to follow them. There was a reason, but honestly, I've forgotten what it was. So they've basically helped me chunk it up. So whatever the guy was preaching on in a particular week, it was like, right, okay, that's going to be the study. So that was really helpful, because one of the hardest things for me in doing any kind of Bible study is working out how to chunk up the book. So where are my obvious points where I'm not going to just break into a theme, but I'm actually going to show where something's going. Particularly that's interesting when you get to Joseph, because obviously you've got massive things. I mean, in a sense, you could kind of do Genesis 42 to 45 as one great thing. It's basically one story, but you know, it would kill people to read that many pages in one go. So it's like trying to work, okay, where do I put the breaks in this? What's a sensible bit to do? So that's where I find kind of like sermons and books really helpful for me to kind of just work out where my breaks are. And then just go for it from there. Okay, let's work out. And we follow the same formula to make it really simple for the trainees. So it's always, what does it say? So just working through checking we understand it. Then what does that mean? Which is like, why is it in the Bible? Why does the Bible want to say this to us? What's the point? And how's my life going to change because of that? So at the very end, okay, so this is true. This is what God's saying. So what does that mean for me personally? So we just help them every week follow the same 3-step formula, hoping that will then become habitual for them, so that eventually when they read the Bible themselves, that will just be, okay, so I understand it. What does that mean? Okay, so what should I do? That kind of like follow it through. So yeah, that's the idea.
Brilliant. And that hopefully will be printed later on this year, I guess. Later
on this year, yeah. So kind of depends on Juliana now, because like how much her enthusiasm for checking my bad Indonesian. So she could give up on that quite quickly. But yeah, the best thing for us would be if we can get it printed by Christmas, and then we can give all the trainees copies as Christmas presents. Yeah. So that would be really helpful. Yeah.
Brilliant. And I'm going to skip a few things. You're part of TFN. Which you've already mentioned. You also mentioned SSM, which you wrote in Indonesian. Does that what does that actually mean, SSM?
Okay, so this is an amazing thing that I found out through a colleague. Okay, so this is one of the books from SSM. So if I just zoom in here, there's SSM. In Indonesia, that is saya suka membaca. Okay, so saya is the word for I, suka is the word for like, and membaca is reading. So I like reading. Okay. Yeah. And this is the kind of the curriculum book. This is run by a sort of charity that runs out of Jakarta. It's headed up by another Brit. He comes from Norwich. And his job is to create a curriculum which enables very low educated teachers to help children learn to read for the first time. It's a brilliant idea because in terms of being Christians, one thing we really want children to be able to do is to read the Bible. And if they can't read, then there's a massive barrier for them ever growing in their faith, because they just are always going to be reliant on what is taught in church. And often what is taught in church is poor. So getting them to read is a really important thing. And this curriculum really wants them to, from the title, love reading, not just be able to, but actually really enjoy it, so that they're actively wanting more and more material to read, so that reading the Bible becomes very exciting. So the curriculum is great because what they do, if I just show you a page again, you won't won't be able to understand it, but it's broken down into things like, right, this is what you're teaching today, this is what you need. Okay, number one, do this. And if you could read the Indonesian, it would say, now say this, now say this. It's incredibly simple. So even a teacher who themselves has perhaps only finished primary school could follow that and then teach the kids to read. The curriculum comes with these gorgeous little books. Okay, so this is How Many Spiders is this book? And they're little books like for little people with little hands, but every book is beautifully illustrated, very simple language. And so what we've done is we've bought this curriculum, and we're going to use it now to teach all our trainees and train them up to be literacy teachers. If they're all trained in this, then for each of our partner schools, we can then buy the curriculum and all the accompanying resources, and then they can go off and help that little area, wherever they're working, teach the children how to read and become really competent readers. The curriculum's fantastic. It covers about 2 years. So it takes you from like reception students, from really basic stuff like how to hold a pencil. So you have lessons on how to hold a pencil, and it takes you right through to independent books, so books that are harder than this one, kids reading themselves and answering questions and doing comprehension. So if you follow the whole curriculum, it takes about 2 years to get through. It is phenomenal. So praise God for that, bunch of people in Jakarta who came up with that idea, and we're just hoping to work alongside them by teaching our trainees how to do this so that they can then take it out and multiply it across Indonesia. That's the plan. Yeah.
The chap who has put that together, is he a Christian? Is this mainly just a literacy course, or does it have a Christian bent, just out of interest?
It is mainly a literacy course. He is a Christian, and his charity that he works for is a Christian charity. Okay. But what they've done is they've not put a particular Christian spin on it, so that it is completely open, and they would sell this curriculum and do the training to anybody. So there are several schools, Muslim schools across the country, that use it as well.
Brilliant, because actually literacy opens up, as you've already said, doesn't it? The Bible, and that opens up and knowledge.
Exactly. So even somebody from a different faith, if they can read, then they've got access to picking up the Bible or picking up a leaflet that's been published by a church, and that immediately gives them information that otherwise they wouldn't have. So that's cool.
Great. What's the post like to Indonesia and back?
Post?
Yeah.
Bad.
Post. Bad.
Well, it's technically not too bad. So, for example, I had to send some photos at one point over to the UK for a new passport, and that took a week. So that's great. But if you're sending like post in, it depends. If it's a letter, again, my statements from like my mortgage company take a very long time to get here, about 3 months. So they're clearly not priority. Right. And parcels are a nightmare, because parcels get opened at customs, obviously. So everything will be open, everything will be ripped apart. And depending on who's looking in your parcel, often not the whole parcel will turn up. So if they see things they like, they will just instantly take them, and then they'll wrap it all back up and you get what's left. So it just depends. Some things, like I find particularly like written material, if people send books, not a problem, because they can't read English, they don't care. But a lot of edibles can go missing. And anything that looks kind of cool, that could just disappear straight away. So it just depends, who's on the customs that day. Yeah.
Because I was just thinking at some point it'd be really nice, perhaps when you do come to the UK, to see some of that curriculum in the flesh, in paper. Because it just enlivens people's understanding of an aspect of what you're doing.
Yeah, no problem. We can bring it with us.
Great. I think that's covered most things. But what particularly would you like people to pray for? That's one thing. The second thing is, and this is off the cuff because I will need to talk to other people, would financing some of that literacy material be a possibility, separate to any support that you're given? Would that be a potential thing that we might help as a church with?
That would be great. Yes. If I answer your second question first, yes. So to buy a set of curricula and books to send out to a new school is about £300 to get the whole set of, because obviously you want little books for one per student, and you need copies of these for all the teachers. So If ever anyone feels like doing a fundraising event and can raise about £300, that will buy a set of literacy materials for us to send to one of our schools, which would be phenomenal. Same with things like this, to print one of these for every single student in TFN. Yeah, probably about £300 as well. So if you wanted to do like a fundraiser to send out a bunch of books, yeah, that would be fantastic, because for us, that's one of the main ways in which I can help people here is, I can't be everywhere in Indonesia. I can't keep traveling around and visiting all these schools, but I can write materials that's helpful to send. So that's cool. In terms of what to pray for, so technically our new school year will start in July. Okay, so we should be starting on the 13th of July this year. It's not clear whether that will be starting online or whether we'll be in the classroom. From what we've got so far, it looks like the teachers will need to come into school, but actually it will still be online learning. So the expectation is that teachers will come in. If you're not in, you're not going to receive your salary type thing, although that doesn't apply to me. But that this probably the students won't be. Now, actually, that works really well for me because my students are teachers, so they're going to have to come into school. Yay! So for me, I really hope that I can be teaching them face to face, although there obviously will be a mask on and we'll have to do social distancing, but they should be face to face, which is a lot easier, because one thing that we've learned from this current term is that online learning is very, very difficult for everybody, but especially trainee teachers from villages who are not technology literate. Right. It's really, really hard. So please pray for the beginning of term that we would be able to teach them face to face, that we would be able to get the whole curriculum going well. You could particularly pray for teaching practice. So that's one of the things I'm responsible for organising. Obviously, there cannot be any teaching practice until we get kids back in the school. Yeah. So please ask God that in his mercy, we would get kids back in school earlier rather than later, because if it keeps getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back, actually that gives me a huge headache in how do I get my trainees to do teaching practice when there are no students to be taught. I mean, if I can't do it, I can't do it, but it would be great if we could. The other thing to pray for is obviously the Saturday Bible study. That's the highlight of my week. It is the best thing I do. Please pray that students who used to come and have kind of drifted away and not come for a while for various reasons, pray that they would come back. Start of new school year, chance to start a new thing. Yeah. We'll be finishing off Genesis pretty soon, and then we're starting a new study on Romans. So pray that that would raise, new book, new term, new everything. Well, hey, let's go back. Pray particularly for our new trainees coming, so it'll be class H coming in. Pray that they would really want to get involved in Bible study, that they would just love it. They would think it's fantastic. They would want to come. It sounds a really weird thing to say that, isn't it? I want them all to come to Bible study. It's not that we're sort of self-promoting, but what we're really aware of is that the way Christianity is in this part of the world at the minute is that Christians don't really meet together to discuss the Bible. It's not culturally something they do. Sermons on a Sunday are hit and miss. So sometimes they're actually based on the Bible and are actually not bad. Other times, oh my words, you sit there going, have I just walked into a heresy here? Because what? So there's just so little opportunity for them to really get to grips with the Bible. So we're just like, if you don't come to Bible study, you're missing out on this phenomenal opportunity. So pray, plead with God that they would get that and they would just want to come, that it would be something inside them that just goes, this is incredible. People actually get excited about the Bible and it's interesting and I want to be part of that. And that God would meet with them and it would become like their bread and butter, as it were. They just can't get through a week without it. That would be our great wish for Bible study, although it would become alarmingly big if everybody did turn up. It doesn't matter in that sense. They would be hearing something valuable which otherwise they're just not going to get. And bearing in mind that after 4 years of working here with us, they're going to go out to very remote islands where there probably isn't any kind of decent church or Bible teaching. What they've learnt here is going to be feeding them for a very long time. So taking that opportunity to get into God's word and really try and understand it is going to be so important for them. Pray that you would see that, because I'm not sure they get that really.
Okay.
So yeah, that would be cool. Thank you.
Brilliant. And you said be their bread and butter. What would be the equivalent in Indonesia?
Okay, that's a really good point. It would be their rice, obviously. Rice and what would be rice? Oh, rice and sambal. Okay, so sambal is their chili paste. It's so good, but you have to have a really good tolerance for chilies. Basically, you take a massive handful of chilies, you crush them all up with a bit of garlic and a bit of salt, and that's it, and a bit of oil. Yeah, and then you just whop it on your rice and it blows your mouth apart, but it's really good. But yeah, rice and sambal.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Kate, I've really enjoyed talking to you. It's great you've got good internet connection to make this possible. We'll broadcast this. We might split it into two. I'll have a look at that depending on the length. But I think it's been, certainly for me, and I think for everybody else, really given us a sense of what you're involved with, how it affects that region. And those things to pray about are marvelous things, I think, because it's like the beginning of something that could radically affect countless people as your teachers go out and become the sort of centre of teaching, education, and the knowledge of Christ. Yeah,
absolutely. I want to thank everybody, every single person that gives or prays for us. You have no idea how important you are. I think that's one of the problems actually with like cross-cultural stuff. You don't realize how important you are in praying, but the way I sort of often see it is just like we're in this car together and you are the engine. You know, I am literally sitting there moving the wheel a little bit, but I can't go anywhere if you are not begging God to do amazing things here. So every single person that prays, wow, we want to thank you. We want to say thank you so much. Please don't give up. And I really hope that despite the fact that this year things got very disrupted with COVID, the plan is that I will try and get back the same time next year. So April 2021, that is the plan. And if so, I would be on my way to see you all and bring you loads more stories and loads more stuff about what's going on here. But yeah, you know, if these teachers can go out into Indonesia and introduce Jesus to kids, who knows what will happen in the future in this country. And that's a great thing. So I can get very excited about that.
Great. And with that, we'll finish this part. Thank you very much indeed, Kate, for giving us your time and for explaining things so clearly and enthusiastically. Thank you very much indeed.